and speed that set him apart. Their conversation is interrupted by another team member, who reports that they've been searching everywhere for Sora, but he's always several steps ahead. His agility and quick thinking have made him nearly impossible to track down. Hearing this, Mr. Soji gives firm orders to bring in additional teams, insisting they do whatever it takes to locate Sora and bring him back to the facility. The scene shifts to Sora, who is eating a chocolate he found in his bag, part of a stash given to him by Mamoko. As he snacks, he's already planning his next move, heading to Thailand to find his parents. Meanwhile, back at the facility, Mr. Soji receives another update. Sora is still nowhere to be found. The team members suggest they head to Thailand, assuming that's where Sora will go, but Mr. Soji insists that he'll take control of the situation himself. He calls in Mamoko, explaining that she's the only one who can bring Sora back safely, as she knows him well and understands him better than anyone else. Mr. Soji tells Mamoko that Sora is likely feeling frightened and furious, like a trapped animal. If they try to capture him by force, he'll probably escape using his powers. Instead, he believes that only Mamoko can reach Sora through compassion. But he also cautions her that Sora's extended time outside is dangerous, both for himself and for others. Concerned for Sora's well-being, Mamoko reassures Mr. Soji, promising that she'll bring Sora back safely. As she leaves, the mysterious boy appears again, this time murmuring in a robotic tone that he's glad Sora finally left the facility. It's clear he's wanted Sora gone for a long time. We see him walking away, aided by a machine, which hints at his own complex situation in the shadows of the facility. In the next scene, we see that Sora has finally arrived in Thailand by plane. Overwhelmed and unsure of where to go, he decides to take a taxi to explore the area. Meanwhile, we're introduced to our main female lead, Amy, who is learning to drive with her friend Krin, an actor. Amy is carefree and stubborn, refusing to listen to instructions, which leads to multiple mishaps. Krin, frustrated and on the verge of giving up, eventually agrees to continue teaching her after Amy apologizes. Back in the taxi, Sora realizes the driver has noticed he's a tourist and has adjusted the meter to charge him extra. When they stop, Sora discreetly uses his powers to reset the meter to the correct amount. Handing over the fare, Sora calmly tells the driver to check his own meter. Confused, the driver accepts the amount, and Sora exits the taxi. Hungry, Sora stops to buy some street food, finding the flavors unfamiliar but intriguing. He then heads to a local bank, hoping to get information about the bank number he received from the tenant in his old house. However, the banker refuses to give any details, explaining that it's against policy. Sora tries to convince the banker, explaining that he's the son of the account holder and just needs an address, but the banker stands firm. Frustrated, Sora decides to try the police station, hoping they might help. However, they tell him the same thing, that they can't release any private information without the account holder's consent. Disheartened, Sora begins to worry, wondering how he will ever find his parents without any leads. We then return to Amy, who, feeling more confident in her driving, insists she's ready to hit the main road. Krin strongly disagrees, telling her she needs more practice. But Amy, convinced she's mastered driving, decides to take her chance. When Krin steps out of the car to take a call, Amy seizes the moment and drives off on her own. Meanwhile, Sora is wandering along the street, hungry and tired. Spotting a food stall nearby, he starts heading toward it. At that same moment, Amy, speeding down the road and distracted by a call, loses focus and fails to notice the food stall, and Sora, directly in her path. Realizing too late, she tries to stop but can't fully control the car. Seeing the vehicle racing toward him, Sora instinctively uses his powers to try and stop the car. However, Amy's speed is too much, and the car collides with Sora, knocking him unconscious instantly. Horrified at what she's done, Amy fearing the worst as she anxiously checks on Sora. The next scene opens in a hospital, where Amy anxiously waits outside the treatment room. Krin arrives, asking what happened, and Amy nervously explains how she accidentally hit someone with the car and is now terrified for his life. When the doctor steps out, Amy immediately pleads with him, saying she'll pay any amount to ensure the boy survives, admitting her fear of ghosts and how she doesn't want him to haunt her. The doctor, amused, reassures her that the patient is fine. He just needs a few more tests before he can be discharged. Amy breathes a sigh of relief. Kryn, seeing that everything is under control, excuses himself, saying he has some urgent matters to attend to. After he leaves, Sora emerges from his room, attempting to quietly leave the hospital. Amy catches sight of him and rushes over, insisting he can't just leave without completing his tests, as the doctor advised. Sora dismisses her concerns, saying he feels perfectly fine and doesn't need any further tests. Amy, however, blocks his way, grabbing his arm to stop him. Annoyed, Sora turns to her, asking if she's comparing him to a dog. Amy laughs, teasing that his face does remind her of her puppy. Then, more sincerely, she admits she's genuinely worried about him and doesn't want him to leave without ensuring he's fully recovered. Surprised by her concern, Sora asks why she would care when they're complete strangers. Amy confesses, half-jokingly, that she just doesn't want him to come back as a ghost and haunt her if something were to happen to him. Sora, growing more irritated by her persistence, decides to put some distance between them. He uses his powers to gently push a nearby wheelchair forward, creating a small barrier that allows him to slip away without Amy following. Left behind and frustrated, Amy watches as Sora makes his escape from the hospital.